Hello,
And
Nate.
today, yes, he does the whole greeting. Yes, Nate is our special guest returning to the podcast once again, and he brings another movie, once again based on some classic literature. He's going to talk about The Green Knight from 2021. So, Nate, go ahead and take it away. Give us a little synopsis for people maybe not familiar with it, and tell us about your thoughts on the film.
All right, thanks for having me back, guys. So I teach literature, like Joe said, and I've taught Sir Gawain in the Green Knight for the past 2 years at my current job, and it is a delightful chivalric romance. Like it's just a fun story. Um, and when that movie came out, I saw it came out a few years ago, but I hadn't watched it until last year. I watched it for the first time when I started teaching it because I was like, "Oh, this looks awesome. Maybe I can use it in class." So, I'll give you the simple version. This won't be as long as the Count of Monte Cristo summary. Um, Basically, it's Christmas
Mm-hmm.
in King Arthur's court, right? And there's something very fun about this. At the beginning of the story, King Arthur has everybody there, and he's very like jovial. They're celebrating, but he has this thing where he doesn't want to sit down to eat until he hears a grand tale of adventure or he sees some kind of contest or something. He wants to be entertained before dinner. And sure enough, that moment, the doors burst open and this giant knight enters into the hall on horseback, green from head to toe, skin, hair, clothes, his horse is green, everything. And it's very jarring to the company. And the knight issues a challenge. He says, "Join me in a Christmas game," right? Something very like tale or not Tale of Two Cities, Christmas Carol, right? Like in A Christmas Carol, when Scrooge goes and looks at Christmas present, you see the families gathered and they're playing games. So that's something I want to maybe talk about later. But it's like, hey, let's play a Christmas game, right? um and he offers his giant battle axe as a prize to anyone who can land one blow against him, on the condition that he gets to return that blow in 1 year and 1 day. So none of the knights step up. And he starts to insult them, saying, "Isn't this, Arthur's court?" And Arthur jumps up himself and says, "I'll do it." And he takes it and he prepares to strike the knight. But Sir Gawain yells out, "Stop, I'll do this." All right. Um, he takes Arthur's place. Basically, he says, "I'm the least of your knights. I'll take this game on. It's not right for you, the king, to be doing this one." So he hauls off and lops this guy's head off, rolls across the floor, green blood and everything. And the women are horrified. But then the knight stands up, picks his head up, holds it out, and the head says, "I'll see you in a year and a day at the Green Chapel," and he rides off. What a adventure, right? Arthur is satisfied. Well, let's have our feast. So anyway, a year passes, and Gawain, because he's a knight, has to honor his word and set out on this quest. And I'm going to just stick to the original story for right now. All right. The time passes, little things happen. He eventually encounters this castle on his journeys. And in the castle are a lord and a lady. And he asks for help, some help. He's like, "I need to rest. I've been journeying. I'm trying to find the Green Chapel." And this lord says, "Oh, it's only like a day's ride from here. It's very close. Stay 3 days with us. You can rest in that time, and it'll be Christmas in 3 days, and you can head off and do your thing." And he agrees to this. So they agree to a game as well. And the Lord will go out hunting each day, and whatever spoils of the hunt he gets and brings back, he will give to Gawain. And Gawain, whatever he acquires while he's in the castle, will return to the Lord. So this goes on. The Lord goes out hunting, and while he's there, the Lord's wife, the lady of the castle, she tries to seduce Gawain, and he resists this. And then, so as not to insult her, he agrees to give her a kiss. So he gets a kiss from this lady. The Lord comes back, gives the first, I don't know, a deer or boar or whatever he killed to Gawain, and says, "Well, what did you get in the castle?" And Gawain gives him a kiss. And he's like, "Oh, wow, okay." And then the next day, the same thing happens. The woman tries to seduce Gawain while the Lord is away. He resists that, but agrees to 2 kisses. And then the Lord comes back. They exchange their prizes again, 2 kisses, and whatever the kill was that day. And then the third day comes along and she really lays it on. It gets a little like, whoa. And she offers him first a golden ring with a precious jewel set in it. And he says, I cannot take that. I have nothing of that value to return to you. So she changes and instead says, take this green sash. It protects its wearer from all harm. And he agrees to take that. So the Lord, and then 3 kisses. There's 3 kisses again on the third day. Then the Lord comes back, turns over his kill, and Gawain gives him the 3 kisses, but he withholds the sash. He doesn't tell him about that. And then the next day he's off to his, you know, hopefully not fatal encounter, but he doesn't know that, right? He lopped this guy's head off and he has to receive the same blow back in a year and a day. So he finds the Green Knight sharpening his axe and prepares to receive the blow of the axe. And the knight prepares to swing and he feints, and Gawain flinches. And then the knight starts to mock him. How dare you flinch, right? Are you not brave? Are you not going to honor your agreement to receive what you gave to me a year ago? And Gawain says, I did flinch, but I won't ever again. And he braces himself again, and the knight feints a second time, and Gawain does not flinch. So the knight says, whoa, you are true. You are brave. You are courageous. And then Gawain kind of insults the knight, and he's like, are you the coward? Swing, get it over with already, right? Why are you teasing me with these feints? And then the knight really hauls off and swings, but when he comes down, he only nicks Gawain on the neck. Blood spills on the ground, just a flesh wound. And Gawain jumps up and says, you've had your blow. It's over. And the knight um, kind of laughs and says, our game is over. And Gawain says, I thought we were going to fight now, man. I'm ready to fight you now since I've met my whatever, um, my portion of the deal. And the Lord says no and reveals his identity as the Lord of the castle. It's me who was there. I was your host. I arranged the games with you. The first 2 feints that I gave were for the first 2 days where you were true to your word. The third flesh wound I gave you on the neck was because you withheld that green sash from me, and I know all about it. I sent my wife to test you. She was coached by me. And the Lord had been working with King Arthur's sister as well, Morgan Le Fay, kind of meddling in Arthur's affairs, right? It was like a test of the chivalry of the knights and things. And Gawain is ashamed of what he's been through. And he says he'll wear this ribbon, as a badge of shame for the rest of his life for his failure. But the knight says, no, you are the finest of Arthur's knights. I think you are the finest. You have owned up to your shortcoming, and you've honored your side of the deal. So I basically absolve you from all of that. You are a fantastic knight and someone to be admired. And Gawain journeys back home and he tells Arthur and the rest of the knights of the Round Table the story. And he's still really struggling with this shame, but they all just applaud him. They give him so much praise and shower him with compliments, and it's kind of like ends with that kind of an ambiguous kind of an ending where it's like Gawain's really still struggling with this. He doesn't feel like he's a good chivalrous knight, but everybody's complimenting him and telling him that he was. That's what the actual story is about. Um, the movie does not really follow this. There's a lot of similarities to it, but it is sensationalized. So I don't know. What do you want to say next? You guys want to chime in here at all? Because I kind of want to talk about the movie, but I don't really know how to do that unless you want to juxtapose it to the text. What do you want to say, Joe?
Uh, well, I just want to say, yep, that's very different than the movie in a lot of ways. Well, well, I'll tell you what. How about how about Nate? Well, why don't you tell us? How about you just tell us generally your experience with the movie,
Okay.
and then we'll kind of all share how we felt about it, and then we'll break it down piece by piece for there because we might react to different parts and we'll kind of start from the beginning and just see where it takes us. But
All right.
tell us your impressions of it based on that after.
So I can give some positives here. If you only want to hear the positives of this movie, just wait till Joe puts out a short. All right, that'll be all you need to see there. But I'll give a few of these things. So when I saw like the trailer, it is visually stunning. It is incredibly well filmed. The color palette's gorgeous. The settings are awesome. The costumes are incredible. So it's kind of a it's not really authentically like Renaissance era. It's more like one of those fantasy medieval type of settings try to create, right? But they talk about things as if they're living in, you know, Christian medieval England. Gawain wakes up in a brothel and it's Christmas morning and um, you know what goes on in brothels. He's obviously been having a wild night and then he like comes to the Christmas feast with Arthur. But one of the first things I noticed right away was Arthur and Guinevere are old people. Like they're old, frail, and ugly people. So anyway, they're in this kind of weird abstract round table room, and the same kind of thing happens. The Green Knight enters, and this guy looks awesome. He looks like something out of Pan's Labyrinth, you know, a Guillermo del Toro, like Oscar-winning style costuming. And he's like part tree, part man. It comes in, and this challenge scene goes pretty much consistent with what goes on in the actual story. Um, and after that, it kind of goes off the rails a little bit because there's this love story between Gawain and one of the girls from the brothel, like a peasant girl. And he's very moody. He's very like reluctant to go on. He wants to be a knight more than anything. And then this girl kind of encourages him once this year and a day comes up to like go, and then Arthur's like, "You really do have to go," and he's like, "Do I really have to go?" And Arthur's like, "Yes, you gave your word." So he finally sets out on this, and as it goes, then this is another one of the positives I found in the structure. It's very episodic, so they'll put like a big what do you call it, like a marquee of text across the screen that says whatever this section is about, and then it kind of goes into it. And each of these episodes on Gawain's adventure is kind of like uniquely color schemed, right, or a unique setting, a very unique challenge and stuff. And there's like an odd little like spirit animal fox that shows up and kind of follows him through each of these things. So first time I'm watching this, I'm going through and I'm like, there's something here, right? There's something here. I wonder where they're going with this, right? How is this all tying together? But then again, it's like a lot of stuff I've never heard of. So like he encounters this young squire on a battlefield, surrounded by all these dead bodies, and this kid kind of helps him out and gives him directions, basically. And then shortly after that, they separate, and then in the woods, I think the kid shows up with other bandits and robs Gawain. They beat him and rob him and leave him for dead. And then Gawain gets up, and I think the next section he comes to like an abandoned house. Is that the one that comes after this with there's a girl in here, right? This like kind of ambiguous, weirdly looking woman. Like she's beautiful, she's young, but it's like just strangeness about her. And turns out she's dead. She's a ghost. And she says, you know, somebody killed me here and threw my head in the lake. Bring my head back to me. So he goes on this real kind of cerebral adventure down and gets the skull from the bottom of the lake and he brings it in and it like turns into her head and then back to a skull and he puts it back on the skeleton that was on the bed. You can draw your own conclusions with what happened to this girl. Um, it's brutal stuff, some of these scenes actually, or at least it hints towards it. And then it's like there's like this breath of oh, and the light comes on in the room and things are kind of restored. And then he sets on off after that. It's just like, well, on to the next thing. So going just kind of like keeps trucking right through to the next challenge. And in the next section, I think the next one was with the giants, the naked giants, right? He's just kind of, or was that I think that was what was next. Yeah. So at one
Right.
point he's
Right.
starving.
Technically, I just want to just briefly interject this. I just want to say the Giants thing was technically during the interlude. So, according to the rules of this film, You could skip it. That's all I want to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should. I think right before the giant scene, though, isn't he like starving and he like finds the magic mushrooms and he eats them, right? So it's like obviously drugs. And so he eats these mushrooms and like starts seeing his hands start turning green and stuff. And then he goes, says interlude on the marquee, right? And he's walking across this like plateau. And suddenly these giants just walk by out of nowhere and they're all naked and they're like whales, right? It's like a whale documentary. Like, you hear like some talking and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, can I get a ride on your shoulder?" And then they just kind of walk off and leave him there. And that's right. It's like on to the next part, right? And I think he finally reaches the Lord's castle, right? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. So anyway, he gets to the Lord's castle. It is kind of what you would expect. He comes in there like starving, right? And then he wakes up with the Lord there and he says, "Oh, we all know who you are. We've all heard of Gawain, right? We know what you're doing. We've heard of your tale with the Green Knight. News of that is spread all across the countryside." And then he introduces him to his wife. And it's again, it's one of those weird Hollywood moments where it's like, huh? So the Lord's wife is played by the same actress who was Gawain's peasant girlfriend, but it's not the same person. So, and they never really acknowledge that, but it's obvious to us, the viewer, and that was kind of strange. Also, there is a old woman with her eyes covered, just sitting in the castle, like everything they're doing, she's just sitting there, never addressed or anything. Um, and they set up the same kind of agreement, right? Hunting and whatever you get in the castle. And it's more or less the same thing that I told you about the original one. She's trying to seduce him. It's a little bit graphic. And then finally he runs off at the end of this. He's so ashamed that he runs out and basically he encounters the Lord in the woods, like, "Why are you leaving?" And um, he's like, "I'm fed up with this. I'm done. I'm moving on." And he just keeps going and comes to the Green Knight then, right? And the Green Knight's there. This was a torturous scene where Gawain just sits staring at the Green Knight while the Green Knight's like sleeping in his throne for like 10 minutes. Quiet. And then the Green Knight finally moves and wakes up. So, "Oh, you came." "Yes, of course I did." So there's like a little inkling of courage that you finally see in Gawain here. And it's the same kind of deal. The three feints, or the two feints, right? And Gawain has the sash on or tied around his waist. And the knight goes for the third feint, and Gawain cowers and ducks and runs. Says, "I can't do it. I can't do it." Runs away. And then it kind of goes into like montage mode. And it's just like, there's no dialogue, right? But it kind of is just music. He gets back home. They kind of show clips of King Arthur dying. Gawain gets crowned king. He's a knight now. He's the king now. And the girl that he had been seeing, the peasant girl, is back in the picture, right? But she has a baby, Gawain's baby, obviously. There's this really terrible scene where he's standing over there in his crown and everything, and she's giving birth. And then one of his advisors, I think is supposed to maybe be Merlin. It's kind of like a druid looking guy with like tattoos on his face and stuff. He comes up and he takes the child from her, and she's like crying and crawling across the floor, and he drops a bunch of coins on the bed and then leaves. And all of this is no dialogue. It's all just kind of like scenes. It's like they storyboarded the movie and forgot.
Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, yeah. Right, yeah. It's like we're watching the storyboard that they never kind of finished. They're like, "Oh, we gotta wrap this up." Right. Um, so then his kid grows up a little bit older and he's like pensively looking at maps about battle plans. So there's obviously a war going on. And this is one of my absolute favorite parts of the movie. He walks through the castle, and I was watching it with the subtitles on because as I want to talk about stuff, I read along with what they're saying, right? And one of the subtitles was "Explosions in the Distance." There was no gunpowder in medieval England. But anyway, that was kind of an anachronism. But anyway, they're under attack. They're kind of like retreating to the hold, and it gets real dramatic. Everybody's in this throne room. Enemies at the gates, right? The doors are bursting in, and they finally open, but it comes to Gawain's face real tight, and his head falls off. And then I think that's kind of where it ends, right? Like he kind of like suddenly it snaps back to Gawain getting ready to receive the blow from the knight, and he says, "Wait," and he takes the green sash off and throws it aside and says, "Now I'm ready." And the knight's like, "Good job," and that's the end of the movie. And there is a post-credit scene. I don't know if you guys saw. Did you see the post-credit scene? Very small. But the crown's laying on the floor, and a little girl crawls over and picks up the crown and puts it on her own head, and then cuts and goes to black. So
Oh, wow.
my
Well, when
experience
that
is
happened, I'm glad you told me about the post credit scene because in the
okay.
two viewings I had of this movie, I was so done. I didn't want to stick around for a post credit scene.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh, anyway, it's okay. Well, I have a lot of things to say, but Brad, you've been so quiet. Just tell me your thoughts and feelings, please. Please, Brad, go ahead.
You can hear me correct? Make sure
Yes.
yeah, good, good. I just comment on the just the poem itself, the story itself, like you said, Nate. Um, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I think is widely considered the maybe the best example of Arthurian storytelling. It's a self-contained story within the corpus of Arthurian legend. It's it's kind of it's very weird, and I like it because when it starts out, it places the story within the context of world history. It starts out with the fall of Troy, which in the mythos is the beginning of the founding of Rome, because then it leads to Rome, and it talks about this, and then Britain. So there's that tie there. So it places these men within the context of this long lineage of heroes. And so Gawain is the virtuous knight par excellence and accepts the challenge of this mysterious knight. So you went through all that. When it comes to this movie, I I hated the the beginning of it, especially. It like you said, Nate. It looks fantastic. I think it looks some of it looks it's like the cinematography is great. I really did not like the beginning of it at all. When I and here's the problem with what's going on, I think, in a nutshell, with the whole film is that it's not true to the source material in the ways that it needs to be. There's some originality there. There's some chance taking with different things, some creativity, which you can appreciate, except that you're dealing with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's like you can't. It's if I were going to make an epic about the Bible, I can't fudge with that too much. People have done that, and it's horrible because there's certain things you can't mess around with. And I think some of the parts that he messed around with threw the whole story off. There were some aspects I liked that I thought were neat. It's fine. When he got outside of the castle, like it's too dark. It's both the lighting is dark and it's too dark. The story too much accent on the paganism there and the darkness that's going on. Gawain is a he's kind of a loser, and Sir Gawain in the story is a valiant knight, and so he's kind of like this wimp. Like you said, it's Christmas Eve. He's fornicating, whereas in the story he's chaste. That's one of the 5 points of with the shield, which even is in the story they make a point of breaking that shield with the pentacle and the icon of the Virgin on there. It gets broken early on. It lets you know like this is not the Sir Gawain that you're thinking you're going to get. In fact, he's not even a Sir. He's fronting like he's a knight, and he says, "I'm not a knight." And then it's very dark. I didn't like that. Like you pointed out, I didn't like the fact that Arthur and Guinevere are old and frail. The whole thing was dark. This is a Christmas feast in Camelot. It should be well lit, and this is like a New Year's. We're within the 12 days of Christmas. So anyway, I didn't like that. I actually turned it off um, at the beginning. I was watching it with Mary Beth, and she's like, "I hate this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of hate it too." And I turned it off, and we watched something else. Anyway, it was better. I forget what it was.
A Muppet Christmas Carol,
It was
probably.
like an adaptation. It was normally something horrible, but it was a breath of fresh air. Anyway, I went back. I'm like, well, I got to watch this, and I liked it. It when he got outside of the castle and started to go out, I started to like it more. I'm like, okay, something's going on here. Again, the cinematography is great. I won't belabor the point too much. I did think it was neat that you mentioned he has an encounter with Saint Winifred. So it includes there the hagiography, the legend of Saint Winifred, who is a Kepler. She loses her head because she preserves her virginity. A man wants to take her as his wife. She refuses. He cuts her head off, throws it into a well. That well you can still visit to this day. It's a healing well. So they included that. I don't, and then I kind of thought, was she the fox? There's something connection there. I'm not sure. He did eat the psychedelic mushrooms, and I'm like, oh, here we go with this. But at least they abandoned that. I was like, okay, good, it's fine. I don't know if there's a lot of psychedelic mushrooms in like the Welsh countryside, but whatever. He found the one that the Giants and all that. Whatever. That's neat. I also really, again, cinematography great. Some of this things I'm like, okay, that's a cool take. I think they botched the castle with the Lord and the lady and the kisses. And he just comes across as this pathetic, like, and then there's a scene with some kind of sex act. I don't know what's going on. And then I'm like, you can't give that to your boy, which I thought he was going to in the woods. Thank God it was only 3 days and not the 12 days of Christmas. So there would have been um, some unsavory activity.
Would
I
have
don't
had a
know.
different
So,
rating at that point, I
yeah.
think.
I'm like, what? How are you going to give that gift? How are you going to give that back? But anyway, and there was like a couple neat scenes with the camera obscura where she takes his portrait.
Yeah.
That's neat. I mean, okay. Um, and then with the where he envisions his future because he ran away. I was like, what the heck? What's going on here? And okay, that I don't know. That's not too bad. But I just thought overall, visually great. It had some like cool things in there, but I just thought overall it failed. It failed to accomplish what it set out to do, and the main reason is because it was not true to the source material in any of the ways that it would need to be.
Yeah.
It's too avant-garde in certain ways where you don't need to like you. It's like, and then Joe, I'll go to you. One of my favorite novels is Crime and Punishment. There's an American version of Crime and Punishment, an older movie I bought to watch. I still haven't finished it because it's hot garbage. Because when you have Crime and Punishment, you don't need to do anything. There it is. All you need to do is pick the right actors and plug them in. And how am I going to do these scenes? They changed the dialogue. It started to change the story. You can't do that. Just like you can't do it with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So I think the acting was fine, no problem there. But it just failed in ways where you need to succeed in order to make a good movie. I did not like it. So
Oh my. Well, I think I might be echoing some of it. I saw this movie when it came out in theaters about 4 years ago. It was recommended to me, and apparently, I remember I got really interested by the previews because I wasn't super familiar with the story. I only vaguely so, but I love a lot of the Arthurian stuff. So I went to see it, and yeah, I had the same problem with it that I did trying to watch it later, and I was um, well, and I wanted to add a little positivity. Um, I wanted to give a brief shout out because I didn't know the story. So before I watched it again, I listened to an audio version read by David Rintoul. And if anybody wants to listen to that, I really liked it. It was really fun. And I'm like, oh, this is a really fun, enjoyable tale. And the interesting thing about it is going from having no real knowledge about the story to having knowledge about the story, it didn't really change my experience with the film much at all. It added a little bit of insight to certain parts, but no, it was really rough. Just trying not to say everything you guys said again. My biggest issue with this is that I tend to kind of like movies that sometimes are a little more abstract and avant-garde. That doesn't necessarily put me off, but I think Brad made a really good point. This is one thing I pondered, especially when you're talking about adaptations. You have to remember to stay true to the source material, and it's that question of how far can you really go, before it kind of breaks that thing and it no longer becomes that thing. And I do think that this only like tangentially kind of follows it. The biggest issue with this movie is that it's the worst thing that any piece of entertainment or art can be, at least from my experience, is that it's boring. This movie's really, really boring. It's supposed to be a fantasy adventure, hero's journey thing. It's such a slog to get through.
Lots of
Ugh.
this. Lots of this.
And I mean, that's
Like
fine, but
close-ups
like
on faces and stuff. And
you can focus on a face, you could hold the camera there, but like it doesn't need to be over 2 hours though.
yeah.
It could be a short film, and that's the thing. And I don't like what you said, Nate, about how certain things are episodic. Like, yeah, I agree, Brad. That beginning when he's in Camelot is like such a slog to get through. But once he starts getting out there and he kind of goes on his little challenges and meets different creatures, I'm like, okay. Like honestly, my favorite scene in the movie is probably when he meets those bandits and they kind of trick him. And I felt like there are a lot of little points where there were some interesting things that were kind of being said, and I guess it's supposed to be like a commentary on the myth and looking it through a modern lens, but I'm not entirely sure what it was because it feels like different scenes kind of show a different message. But I mean, yeah, I liked some of the cinematography is good. I think they make good use of the landscape, but it's like you're trying to have this fantasy story and you've got the Green Knight, which is this really cool prosthetic special effects piece, but then everything else looks so drab. I mean, the best looking piece of frame in the movie is his cape, is like yellow cape. I mean, that's like the brightest thing in the movie. And I mean, I guess it stands out that he's the hero, but there's just everything is like got that dull sheen to it. It's like, why are you going to have this beautiful landscape if you're going to dull it? And I guess that's the theme they're going for, but it's just ugly to look at for 2 hours. And the sound mixing, I don't know if they were trying to go more realistic because I feel like that's a lot of thing. Another thing I want to say about this movie, which is also common, it's in conflict with itself. On one hand, you want to have this epic story, which should be bright and colorful and uplifting and fun and interesting, but okay, you want to be drab and serious. But like it's like we want to be grounded, but okay, we go into King Arthur's court where typically you can understand what they're saying, but everybody talks like this, and you're like, if you don't have the subtitles on, you can't understand what people are saying for the first 20 minutes.
It's
You can't understand anything, and there is some
brutal.
good dialogue. You can't understand it all.
Yeah, Arthur had emphysema or something. I don't know what's going on. And you
Well,
can't.
it's because I guess and I
They
get
look
it.
like they're having a killer time. It looks horrible. It looks so boring. It's a drag. And
It's King
then I'm
Arthur's
like,
court.
Yeah, this
what
Christmas
is
feast in the dungeon, like
so dull? Bring in a flight of fire. I mean, at that point, maybe you want to do mushrooms because it's so dark.
zazz this up a little bit.
Later up, yeah,
But no, I agree, and that's the thing. If you want to do a dark Arthurian thing, that's fine. But that's like where it's the marketing gets you because it doesn't present itself like that, and it does. I just think the length is too long. If you want to do this
long,
version, that's fine. You want to say something, but it's too long. The pace is rough. But seriously, it's I made a joke about the interlude before, but like I felt like not only was that pretentious, like it's like literally saying you can skip this part because okay, we're adding to the world there's giants. It would have been cool if at least he got on the giant shoulder and okay, I got help from the giant, a little thing. Just okay. It's like it reminds you of Tolkien. Okay, like oh, and he found some giants in the game. Doesn't have to add much, but like literally did not know. I feel like it's repetitive to other things, but yeah. So the problem I have is that this is a movie that I really wanted to like, but it's probably one of my least favorite movies I've seen in recent years. Like and also this movie got rave reviews, and I know people that like it, and it didn't click for me. I
I
know a
don't
lot of
usually
people like.
I don't usually read reviews, but I don't think it was Ebert, but it was like someone that works for him was like, this is the best
Mhm.
movie. I want to go watch it again.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this no, uh, and you don't want to
Don't get it.
follow him because if it's so long, that's a good point. It's so long, and I don't want to follow this dweeb. He's so weak. Like he's not a knight. He's not out. He's not a knight errant. He's like barely he's mucking his way through the countryside. And it's like it's so you know
Well, it's like, I mean, I understand that you want to have your character grow. I mean, that makes sense. He's got to have flaws, sure. But even that little scene, which I even said I liked, see, it's a conflict itself again, where he meets the bandits. The guy that's going to be bandit is like, okay, can I get anything for me helping you? And Gawain didn't even think about trying to throw him a coin or anything. Oh, my thanks is enough. Like, he is
no.
still like a member of King
No,
Arthur's
that's
court.
the
He's his
point. Yeah, that's
nephew.
the
Like,
point. One of the
what?
points of chivalry is your generosity. Like that's the point. He doesn't have any points of chivalry. She even says to him in the castle, the lady, on the third encounter, she before she leaves, she says, "You're no knight." And it's like, well, he's not. He's kind of, and he runs out of the room naked with the blindfolded lady, and it's like, I don't know if that was that one or the one before, but it's like, no, you're not. Uh, and I guess the point is, well, he finally did become one at the end, but um, I know I get what it was trying to do, but again, the source material demands otherwise, and it just took too long to get there, and it didn't really do what it was supposed to do by the end. I didn't even see the post thing with the girl picking up the crown. Oh, maybe there's a part two. I hope not. What
The Green
it's his
Knights for them.
daughter or something? The green, yeah. Well,
The
maybe
Green
I don't
Knight.
know. The X-Men versus the Green Knight. I don't. Maybe that's what it is, but
Oh, that would be sick. That would be sick.
that's all their
Nate,
heads.
by the way, first of all, shout out Nate to wearing green. I just noticed you're thematically on point. Secondly, Nate, I had a
I did.
question for you because I was looking they're trying to figure out the movie and looking and listening again and to the source material. So in the story, is it that the Green Knight is also was kind of a test to kind of test the metal of the knights, and that was Morgan Le Fay's creation?
Yeah.
And because in the movie, and once again, I had to look up the cast list because it's not things are very clear. Morgan Le Fay is is actually in the castle in the movie, and she blatantly summons it, and I guess it's Gawain's
Oh yeah.
mother instead of his aunt.
Yeah.
But that was confusing because if correct me if I'm wrong, Nate. Obviously, Morgan Le Fay's evil; she's not invited. But in this version, she's just there and unhappy, and decides to test her son because
I
why?
I think the
Yeah.
idea was she's going to propel him to the throne through this something like that because he ends up become I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, Nate. Do you understand why his mom?
Well,
Mom,
I
what the
understand
frick?
something. I
I
understand
just like that
something
Brad
here.
gave up halfway through.
This is exhausting to even talk about. Like, so I have two kind of thoughts here. So maybe three thoughts. Brad, you said
Okay.
you said by the end maybe he becomes what he was supposed to be. I don't think that's what happens here. I think that, and this is like the first big thought I was having as you were talking about this. This is not running adjacent to the story. It is a complete inversion of the story. Everything about it is the opposite of what it ought to have been. Um, he is the ultimate like beta man. Like he's just so pathetic. And he's supposed to be this idealist, right? That's what romance is. It's ideals. King Arthur's supposed to be young. It says it in here is like his life's blood is running hot, right? That's why he wants to have an adventure or, see something fantastic before dinner. And he's an old guy, hacking up a lung. Um, everything is completely opposite. Christmas is supposed to be bright and it's set in a dungeon, right? A knight's supposed to be generous, but he's like, forget you, guy. A knight's supposed to be chaste. He's obviously not. So everything is completely inverted. So that was one of the big thoughts that I had. And um, I don't know if you guys ever listened to Jonathan Pageau. He has some pretty good stuff about symbolism. And he kind of talked about that too. He did like a 5-minute reaction video to this, to like a fan question. Check that out because his explanation is pretty good too. But yeah, as I was thinking about it, my second thought was what kind of kept me watching is that I wanted so bad for there to be something here. Like
Mm.
symbolism is very cool. It's very interesting, but not when you like invert it. Like if you hold something up to like think of the vampire, right, as a monster. Walks in front of a mirror, there's nothing there. That's kind of what this movie is to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's like the reflectionless vampire of it. It doesn't have anything to it. And I've noticed a few times as you both talked, you're saying like, oh, there's something there. And even I said it like at the beginning with the fox. I was like, oh, where are we going with this? Right. And you said, oh, that was neat. I think I'm seeing something. But then by the end of it, you're like, what did I just watch? It never delivered. Right. So I don't think there is supposed to be a message in this movie. I think it's intentionally left empty, like this nihilistic crap. Now you could also
Man.
possibly read into it as um a real strong feminist piece because if you remember the very opening scene kind of contrasts with that credit scene, and this is one of the things Jonathan Pajot says. Remember going sitting on the throne and the crown's coming down, and when it lands on his head, he bursts into flames. So it's like
Mhm.
immediately the king is on fire, is destroyed. Fire is not anything but destruction symbolically, right? And then at the end, the little girl puts it on her head. So by inverting everything, you're kind of left with nothing. That's kind of what I was noticing because you were both talking about cool aspects of it, right? And the part with the kid and the bandits I thought was pretty interesting. And I did like the scene with the girl and the decapitated girl, Winifred. I thought like as a standalone, that could be cool, right? That might be a really neat um
Sure.
isolated story without this Gawain, right? Like with
Mhm.
the original Gawain in it, that would make more sense. And that would be a great little short film, I think. But yeah, everything's completely inverted. And yeah, there's the other part too. There's so many things you said it's in conflict with itself, and I thought that was a great observation. But sometimes it's just like watching theater of the absurd too, because
Mhm.
nothing is coherent. Like when Gawain leaves, so we talked about his mother, right? And in this, Morgan Le Fay is Gawain's mother. She summons the demon into the Christmas feast, right? And before he leaves, she gives him the green sash and says, "Take this with you." Remember? That happens at the beginning. And then he gets it
Gets it
again
back.
later. I don't
Yeah.
remember when he lost it. Or did he lose it?
Oh yeah.
They took it.
Yeah.
Did the
Yeah.
Oh
thieves
yeah,
take
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
The bandits took it. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
The
forgot
gang,
that.
the gang took it. Yeah, you got it.
It's fair that you forgot it though.
Yeah,
You
but
probably like spaced out
well,
in that
but like
act.
why did she give him the green sash at the beginning of the thing in the first place? Only to be
Well,
refound. It's like I want there to be a meaning here, but you didn't
That's
do
I
it.
think I like I said,
to
I
tell.
think she is I think the point here with her being his mother is she's engineering this quest for him so that he can ascend somehow. So that's to protect him. And then I isn't she supposed to be the blindfolded woman in the castle? Isn't that supposed to be his mother?
Brad, I read that somewhere. I think that's complete bull.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I feel like that was just a weird surrealistic thing to I guess it could symbolize her, but I don't think we needed her like yes, I don't know, but as a character in the scene in a more literal sense, that woman was just creepy. That was really annoying. It was really annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, was she like the stenographer or something? Like she just remembers everything and you can like ask her, "Hey, what did we talk about yesterday?" She wouldn't talk anyway.
It would be funny if she like ran into the wall on the way out the door. Like she hits
Like tripping
I guess
around,
it's a
yeah.
parallel with his mom, maybe.
I
I
think
don't know.
well, Nate, that anyway, I don't want to go off this. There's other versions like that animated version, and there's other versions where the Morgan Le Fay is not his mother, but she is in the castle where she does kind of she wants to test the knights. Um, anyway, yeah, like again, I think I said there's not really much to add. I also when I picture the Green Knight, I picture not like a tree man. Picture like a because it even says in the story he's tall, he's like a giant of a man. He's actually handsome. He's just all
Mm,
green. His eyes are red. He's like a living holly bush.
mm,
Is the point because this is Christmas. and it's very neat because Christmas has always been it's like the Christmas Carol. It's always a time when like the veil is thin, so to speak, between the earth and the spiritual world. There's ghost stories associated with it. Weird things happen. It's a time when it's a time Christians have always recognized this. Um, and so it's this guy shows up. He's like a living holly bush. He even rides in, I think, with Holly.
Yeah, he brings it in. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's bringing in. He's kind of like, I come in peace. I'm here for a game. It's like it's a game, And so he's oh, let's have a game, and then yeah, it just swings and misses too many times. I just don't. It's like I think it failed on the Green Knight. I think it failed on Gawain. I think it failed on Arthur. Um, and like you said, Nate, like I thought of that before. I'm glad you mentioned like the inversion of the symbolism, like the inversion of the story. He's like the anti-Gawain. And so I don't think you could, again, just I'm going to keep repeating myself, but it's like you can't take that kind of source material and you can't do that with it. That's not allowed. I don't think
well,
it doesn't work out.
that's absolutely true. Yeah, and symbolism works unless you deliberately pervert it or corrupt it, right? Like you can't make the hero, you know, a snake man. It doesn't work. Like if you do it, like I'm sure there's stories exist, but they don't last, right? They don't have a staying power to like the next generation or something. Um, the same way that like the eternal symbols do. So once you like, if your idea of symbolism, and I don't want to speak for the director, so I'll speak generally, right? Like, but if your idea of symbolism is that it's whatever you want it to be, you're wrong. Like there are certain things that have meaning, right? Like light has meaning, darkness has meaning. Um, this there's even a tension there or like an incongruence with like summoning this demon, right? And I'm gonna keep calling him that because that's what it felt like. They perform a ritual and the knight shows up, right?
Mhm.
Um, but he's like verdant and growing. Like that's not that doesn't jive, right? This is like square peg in a round hole. Like you can't do it. Certain things mean certain things because in reality, that's what they are. That's what symbolism works upon. It's like an outgrowth of reality. Um, like light symbolizes knowledge because by light we see things. That's how we come to learn things. Darkness symbolizes ignorance because by darkness we cannot see things. The woods symbolize being lost, right? Because when you're in the woods, there are no patterns to follow. That's why we have to cut a path, right? And a path is how we metaphorically describe our life because we're making it through something that's chaotic. Symbolism is grounded in reality, and once it's not, it doesn't work. And I think that's what happened here. Brad, your phrase of swing and a miss too many times is exactly how I feel. And the visuals are so compelling. It's just like the biggest tease of a movie, right? Like you'll want it to be there, and it just isn't.
I
You
think
know,
I'll just say one. Well, I keep saying that, but I think let's talk about symbolism. If you look at Sir Gawain, if you look at uh, it's it's in its original form. There are like I don't get too esoteric here. It's a Catholic story, but it has magic at the peripheries and weird things at the peripheries. That's where they belong, on the peripheries. The monsters and things in the peripheries. This story tries to put it in the middle and exclude the Catholicism or that. I think the point with the Green Knight is a tree and like the giants and these kind of things. I think it's an inversion. It's where it's saying nature is bigger than you. You're
Hmm.
gonna come and go. It doesn't matter. Remember, he sees himself as a skeleton before he gets up and going. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
that's neat. What are we doing now? I think it's the idea is like you will come and go. This will pass. You're very small. Here's the giants. They pass through, representing maybe the countryside or the nature of the
All right. All
itself.
right.
Um, but that's not the story because the story takes place in Christmas, from Christmas to Christmas, in a Catholic Lord's Hall, and during a feast that celebrates the incarnation which is super nature over nature. And this kind of puts like nature. I don't know if he's a demon or yeah, like you said, I'm not sure. Whereas I picture the Green Knight in the original story as a little ambiguous, but ultimately not a villain. He tests the mettle of the valiant knight and brings out the best in him. It even says, "Hey, you should have told me about that sash, you know, but you get a nick for that. But otherwise, you pass the test." And it like tries the knight. And anyway, I think like you said, just
Yeah.
it's upside down, it's inverted, and so it doesn't work. And like Joe said, it's laborious to get through. It just plods along, and you're waiting. Like I did, I'm waiting for the payoff that never, you know, materialized.
Yeah, if I could comment too, you're absolutely right here because in the original, remember, the knight faints twice because the 2 days of going in the castle, he honored his word, and then on the third day he failed to, and he got the nick on his neck. And Gawain is like, I'm a failure. I failed at being a knight. But the Green Knight, reveals himself to be the Lord and says, "No, I." He basically, I think he says, "I absolve you of that crime." There. So this is very much a story about redemption, right? Being redeemed, like you said, it's going from Christmas to Christmas, and that's the whole Christian story, right? So even like 3 days in the castle, mirroring 3 days in the tomb, right, until the resurrection. But like it's something where Gawain's failure actually leads him to become the knight that he doesn't even believe he is himself. So this is a really cool. I don't know if you would call it a full-on allegory, but in this story, you see this idea of like self-doubt, scrupulosities, things like that. But then all of the affirmation of Gawain's goodness came from outside him, including like primarily from the Green Knight whom he offended, right? The Lord whom he offended forgave him with only a minor punishment. And then when he comes back, all of the knights in Arthur's Hall are saying how great he is. And he still kind of struggles with that idea for his own self view, but that's the story of all of us, right? So it's when I teach it in class, that's one of the big things I focus on. It's like you don't always see yourself as clearly as you are. And I think Shakespeare wrote that in Julius Caesar when Brutus says, "No, Cassius, the eye sees not itself, but by some other means." Right? Like, so you can't truly know yourself without that help of others. And that's kind of a neat part of this too, right? It's very Catholic. It's very much about reconciliation and forgiveness, right? Having a standard to live up to that you fail, but then you're still good enough because you own it, right? And then the person who you are in the game with is the one who confers that on you, right? So yeah, there's definitely heavy religious undertones in the original, and they're completely absent from this one. And even aside from that, if you're not Catholic or not Christian, or that's not in your world, the idea of redemption is very true as well. It's something that is very human because you see that throughout all of the antiquity. People trying to find ways to be redeemed and that's where it all leads to. Anyway, what do you think, Joe?
No, I actually thought that was interesting, and I knew you guys would bring that up. I noticed when I was listening to the story, like, oh yeah, some of the fact that it was Christmas and the fact that there were these Christian elements that they were kind of they discussed them a little bit at the beginning, but they really kind of did away with it, which was interesting to me. I was like, that's probably a choice. I had a question I wanted to ask you both because I'm still trying to figure out since I don't think any of either all three of us really liked the movie much at all. Why do you think critically it had got such a good reception? Like what did people like about this? Like I don't really get it. I really don't. And I try and I was wondering if you guys had any theories or anything because I'm just like I don't really see it.
I think it's one of those weird effects where people just are like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I get this," and they want to sound smart, They want to seem like they get it. They want to seem like, oh, don't you know what that symbolizes? Like the speech that the lady gives about the color green. At the end of that, I was like, what did you just say? You didn't say anything here.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like green
I didn't get.
was
I was trying to
death.
follow that too. It's life, but then red is lust and something, and I'm like,
The color of the womb. There were so many
ooh, yeah.
dumb lines. I
I'd
write some
say
down and I forgot
if
to.
I could venture, maybe why did they love it? One, it's visually stunning.
Sure.
It's visually stunning. Uh, it's a big effort by a relatively new director.
Hmm.
And I think the critics that like it liked it for the reasons that I don't like it, or because it's not afraid to get in there and change the parts around and mess with the story, which you'll see a lot of people enjoy that. And some people like it for other weird reasons, like which I didn't, it doesn't sway me one way or the other. But I do remember when it came out, there was like a big ballyhoo about you had in the he's is he Indian actor playing
It's a
an
Dev Patel,
Arthurian.
yeah.
Yeah, Dev Patel. So some people were making a big hay about that, like that's creative, whatever. Yeah. So I'm
I don't
not
think that, yeah,
sure.
that shouldn't matter. Like you can do
No,
that with
Yeah, I
stuff like
think that's cool. I like
that
Dev
doesn't.
Patel as an actor
Yeah,
too.
that's not egregious either. It's not like it's sometimes people will do that, and it's like, okay, you're trying to
A
make a
stunt
stunt. A
casting
stunt. It's a
kind
gimmick,
of thing.
which isn't fair to the actor that you're gimmicking, but that doesn't matter.
Mm,
Um I think because it's a twist on the Arthurian legend, and because it's like it's dark,
different.
it's sexually heated. It's not.
Probably
It's a
scary.
little bit puerile. I was glad that it wasn't graphic. I was afraid there was going to be some graphic things, which I don't. I don't always need that. It didn't serve anything. But
Personally, I think with that one scene, I actually was kind of surprised it wasn't a higher rating. I mean, I know it's
oh,
one
with the
plot.
with the
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 Smiths,
sex thing with
the Smiths,
Lord's lady.
the Smiths
Yeah,
rape or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
ah
Yeah,
uh, I was like, I know
imagine if the
that you can
roles
be
were
ambiguous, but
reversed.
like,
yeah,
I was like,
come
what?
to the castle and get a handy while you're
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And then that's what I said. Are you gonna give it to her husband in the woods? Like,
Right?
what are you doing?
Well, you
He's
got
like,
to give
I
what you
got a fox
receive.
in the bag. I've got a fox in the
Oh,
bag. Well, I got something for you,
look,
buddy.
look. I
Right?
am glad. I am
Well,
glad he didn't
wait
kill
till
the
you see what
fox
I
or
got
do
for you.
anything to the fox. You know,
Yeah,
it's foxy though.
that's exactly the point. I mean, we're far enough in where the people have like people that would be
They've
offended have tuned out. But
they've
like
checked out
Sir
by now.
Gawain is not it does not spill his seed in that that's offensively weird, and that's what I said. Like that's my point. It's already implied he fornicates. He's a drunkard. He's a loser. He's a coward. And then he lets this woman, you know, uh, perform a sex act on him, and then he's like, "Ooh, you got to get out of here," and then he goes out. He's like, "I've got something for you. You got to get out of here." And then why
I'll
does
bet you do.
the fox yells at him like, "What are you freaking doing? Where do you got to?" The fox is yelling at him.
Yeah, who's that
What do
supposed
you?
to be?
And the fox is
He's like,
breaking his balls, and then he goes in there, and the Green Knight is sleeping for a mad long
you
time, like an
know,
old man.
man, you could
Uh,
totally rewrite this as a comment. The fox is like, what are you doing? Like, get back to the
yeah,
quest. Like, stop
I think
foxing
if you
around.
just put a different
Jesus.
soundtrack on it, it would just be a comedy. Like
because
putting some
Joe,
like
like
slapstick
All
Joe
the stupid
Pesci's
sound
the
effects.
fox or something.
Boing.
Yeah,
as he's
like the
about to
woman.
leave.
Wah,
And he
Yeah,
runs
the
out.
old woman runs into the wall, like ooh, it's
Yeah.
like loaded weapon or like
I
top.
think that's the project. It's just same movie, soundtrack change, sound effects added,
I
comedy.
don't know. And then
oh.
he's sitting there waiting for him to wake. I'm like, you know what? I came here. You slept a very long time. I'm leaving. I'm not gonna sit here. Oh, is it Christmas? No, it's spring by this. I don't know.
Yeah, right. You're dropping leaves, buddy. It's autumn.
Grandpa's sleeping up there.
Uh,
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons, Joe, actually, as we were talking about this, your question was, why do you think it got such rave reviews? I think that a lot of the people who do these, like these high profile critics, they don't want to be seen as prudes. And when something is just wrong, they're like, "Oh, brilliant. How edgy." Right? Like, and it's like, "No, you can actually say that was kind of bad. That was bad choice." Right? They're not they're definitely people who are not stingy with criticisms. But once
Yeah.
you cross into like the sexual stuff or like the inverted roles or like you have a little girl come and put the king's crown on her head, it's like, "Oh, beautiful. Brilliant. A masterpiece, a triumph." And it's like you didn't no, you just kind of did something backwards. You know, like when somebody tells you the punchline first, you don't say what a great joke. Like it's like
Mm.
obvious that this was not good, but you want to have some sort of sense of like understanding. It's like a Gnosticism to it. It's like, oh, you if you only got it, then you'd be in on it.
And was it just me, or is Guinevere not good looking
She was
either?
not. No, she's supposed to be
Well,
like the most beautiful.
She was kind of mid for Arthur. I'm just kidding. She was
that's
just looking
so
haggard. They
mean.
were just looking haggard. I'm just
That's
busting.
so rude.
But they were just both haggard. Like,
Well, once again, we've established that was the point. We have to, because in actuality, Arthur and Guinevere were weak and old and terrible, and won't even do. Uh, man, it's that's. I mean, look, that was a take though. That was a take. She was on Game of Thrones, I remember, and she played a more interesting character in that. So I'll give her that. Um,
Yeah, I don't recognize
wow.
her. I mean, she's a normal
I think
looking
she's
lady. They definitely
yeah,
didn't flatter her in that
she's all
film
right.
for sure.
goes mid. So
She's all right.
savage,
For
dude.
Arthur, right?
Savage.
I don't know, man. He seemed
King
Well,
better.
he's
Arthur
King
wasn't
Arthur.
looking too.
Like,
King Arthur's rough too, man. I don't know.
yeah.
I will say I did
Wow.
like the actor who played the Lord of the Castle. Like he was interesting.
Oh,
Every time he
What's
spoke,
Joel
I
his
was
Edgerton.
like,
name? What's his name? Yeah, he's
Joel Edgerton.
he's that was good. That was a breath of fresh air.
You
yeah,
know what, Nate? I'll say. Well, I'll say I like what you said earlier, and I feel like if they tweaked it to be maybe just at least a little closer to the legend, or at least make the Gawain character a little more optimistic. I feel like they could keep almost everything the same, but chop chop the movie up into these little episodic bits, like little folk tales with like a little mess. I feel like you said, I think there is something there with the individual parts. Expand the fox a little bit more. I mean, I think there was potential, and there were some cool ideas. We all agree on that. But yeah, just too long, too long. Edit that.
right.
Edit that, man. Director's cut,
Too
please.
much.
Yeah, it was funny.
Producer's cut, somebody.
It was funny. The Lord or the lady makes her big speech about the color green, right? And then it cuts over to the Lord, and he says something like, just it's a bad line, but he says something like, "What do you plan to do with this hue?" or something. It was just like a throwaway line, but as soon as he started talking, I was like, "You talk more. You keep going. Redeem me from that boring speech." That guy was really interesting. And like you said, Brett, with the fox, "I've got something for you." Like, this is the best part of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
And everybody else is just they never made the connection with him and the Green Knight in this film either. Like that's a core part of the story was that the Green Knight is the
Oh,
Lord that Gawain stays with.
I
So
think they were
something is
played by the same
lost.
actor, though,
I
if I
think
But
it
remember
that-
kind it
correctly.
kind of hinted it with when he says whatever he says, "Good job, lad," or some "Good job, my man,"
I think
whatever.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's the
But
same
yeah,
actor too.
it's not explicit. Uh,
well, and something's lost with that, you know.
yeah.
Let's see. I was just looking to see who was the Green Knight. And another thing I hate about this is
Uh-oh.
in the credits, they don't have names except for Gawain, Essel, which was the peasant girl's name, right? That actress was as his peasant girlfriend.
Alicia
But
Vikander,
then
yes.
no one else has a name. No, they were actually two different actors. Everyone else
Oh shoot.
is everyone else is Madam, Mother, King, Queen. It's not even Arthur and Guinevere. It's just King and Queen.
What
Uh,
wonderful characters.
Magician, Tavern Goer, Bishop, Scavenger. Winifred has a name.
Oh,
How about that? Or sightless woman, right? But yeah, so Winifred has a name. This is interesting now. Hold on. Essel
huh,
has a name. Only those two women have names.
huh. What about the Giants? Were the Giants played by anybody?
They were giant, giant, giant. Yeah, just
Oh,
they're all just labeled as giant.
wow.
Princess age 4, Princess age 6, the young queen.
Those are real giants, by the way.
Yeah, no,
They had the
Life
Giants
size to
Union.
scale.
The
I,
Giants Union comes.
I saw
The giant nudist
Yeah,
colony.
saw that in the behind the scenes. I watched the special features. I loved it so much.
Oh, he was trying to figure it out. Like, tell me something.
Um, yeah, so that's interesting. The only two characters that are named are Winifred and Essel. I wonder what Essel means. Or and Gawain. Or who? Garwin. Right?
Godwin.
I kept calling him Garwin.
Gawain.
They have two names here. They're Paris and Helen. Were they,
Oh,
was there like Troy on in the background or something?
huh.
I don't remember that being
Orlando Bloom's
referenced,
dad.
but in the story it starts out with a reference to Troy. That's what's odd, and it's yeah, I didn't know there's nobody called Paris and Helen. Um, yeah, I don't know.
They're in the cast list, but yeah, that's weird. Again, it's weird. What are you trying to do here?
There was yeah, I don't even keep
So
talking.
deep, man.
It's
But
like a high
Like Gawain means like Hulk. And you remember the time the Lord of the Castle says, I've seen a hawk kill a horse.
Oh yeah.
Every man should
I've
see that. And I'm
seen.
like, what does that mean? Because Gawain, I already knew, I knew Gawain meant something like hawk in the well, like it's the derivative of the word hawk. And I'm like, well, who's the horde? Like, what does that mean?
Just sounds off-putting, Brad.
Here's something fun. Essel is a name that often associated with nobility and high status, originating from Old English. It can also
Hmm.
refer to a donkey in some dialects. So
Hmm.
there's some irony there. I guess that's probably the
Sure, sure.
best
We'll give him that one.
symbolism, best symbolic naming they gave anybody. But yeah, have you ever seen a hawk kill a horse? No. Have you?
Neither have you. So you just
You
made that.
if you tell me you have, I'm going to call you a liar.
Pretty surreal, that's for sure.
Uh, yeah, so guess I'm sorry I made you guys watch the movie because I wanted
Well,
to talk.
actually, no, no. Actually, before we wrap up, Nate, I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
why did you want to bring this one to discuss? I'm curious. What compelled you? Why do you feel like it was worth
Well, I brought it to you before I watched it a
discussing?
second
I
time.
like that you did, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, so I wanted to do it before I watched it the second time. And I think it's what I
Mhm.
said earlier. It's like I thought there was something here. I thought there was something here that maybe I missed, that maybe you could like some kind of a thread that, once you see it, it brings it all full circle. But then last night, I was watching it with my wife. We finished watching it last night, and she looked at me and said, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen." And I said, "I think you might be right." You know, I was gonna say I could maybe give it a 2 out of 5 because of the visuals, but I think it probably is up there in like the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
And I so badly I
I
wanted to like it, and I love symbolism. I'm a literature teacher, and
mhm.
it's just that stuff always makes for good conversation. And I think that seeing somebody just botch it so much made me want to talk to you guys about it.
That's cool. No, I mean, we'll say this. We got good conversation out of it. It's interesting to talk about. And now unfortunately I've seen some bad things, but yeah, this is one of the most
I've
boring.
seen
I
this.
think mostly just the like,
I've
I mean,
seen,
I like
yeah,
my crappy B movies and stuff like Brad
I
does, but
do.
like, you know,
Yeah, I
Well,
do
they at least
think,
admit that they're crappy. Like
yeah,
they
I
and they're
do
know.
think,
fun. They're more fun.
yeah, this is the kind of movie I don't like it, but it's interesting to talk about why it fails because it touches at the heart of what makes the story good about symbolism and why things fail when the source material is golden. Yeah, because how do you screw that up? Because you obviously have a
Mhm.
giant budget, you have all this, you're You've
A
taken it
giant budget.
a giant. You have little giants working for you.
They did.
Can the giants fight each other? I don't know. It's the same thing with that. I forget who's in it. It's the Crime and Punishment thing. I always think of it. I mean, how could you screw this up?
It's a good movie.
You've you know, I've never seen a hawk kill a horse, and I never will, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah, if you think you
Never
can
will.
tell a classic story, and that's a very specific term, a classic story, better than the guys who told it, especially this one, which is pretty much a product of oral tradition. The author is the Gawain poet or the Pearl poet because he wrote a poem called
Mhm.
The Pearl or something. And they are pretty certain it's the same author, but we don't know. And it's pretty obvious that this is probably from oral tradition, a compilation of stories that has come down to you. You have inherited something of great value, right? Like if you inherit that china set from your great grandmother, do you just run it through the dishwasher with everything else? Like, no, you don't. You don't. You can't do that. It's frustrating. Yeah,
Well,
I will not
um,
watch it again. I know that. And if you
I
haven't watched it, I would advise against it.
I agree with Nate. I will probably never watch this again. Twice
Instead,
was probably more than enough.
go on YouTube. Sorry to cut you off, Joe. Go on
Okay.
YouTube, search animated Sir Gawain and the Green Knight BAFTA award winner. There's a
Mhm.
22-minute cartoon that someone made. I forget what year it is. Fantastic. Completely
2002.
awesome. So good. And fair warning, a stainless steel animated girl does take her shirt off in it. But just be prepared for that. That's the only weird part. But other than that, excellent retelling, very true to the Christian themes, and good symbolism. Do that one. There's also one with Sean Connery. If you want to laugh, watch that one.
Ooh,
He plays the Green
Sean
Knight.
Connery. Sounds better already.
If
That
I
sounds better
won a
already.
Christmas game.
Christmas game, yes.
I'm here from Her
Yeah.
Majesty for a
We
Christmas
did play King
game.
Arthur, I think. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Richard Lionheart. Yeah. So Brad, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Yeah. Well, I definitely liked I'll spoil this for anybody because we haven't uploaded yet, but I liked Doubt much better than this. Okay. Another interesting discussion, but I like that better. And I don't know, Nate, next time you gotta come back. Please come back, but please pick a movie you think we'll like more than The Green Knight. But still good to talk about. That's my only request.
I will do better for the next one, for sure.
I know you will. All right. So tell everybody goodbye, Brad.
bye everyone. Thank you.
All
That's it.
right. Say goodbye.